I'm here to present specifically on the topic of Solarcoin and basically a digital asset to empower the solar energy transition at a global scale. Anybody who's interested, I invite you to connect with us on LinkedIn if you want on the topic, and we will explain a little bit further. We're an open source platform, we're an open protocol, and we're very open to what we're doing, so we work as an open registration process program. Now the blockchain which we're using is allowing participants, solar industry participants, to receive 1 solar coin per megawatt hour of solar power produced. So essentially it works as an incentive program for solar power producers, for prosumers, and for the whole solar energy industry. I'll get into that a little bit afterwards. It's a 40-year mission, so it's an incentive which is based since 2010, retroactive to 2010 actually, and we've launched this since, oh, closer, okay, this is great. And so we've been launching this since 2014 based on the Bitcoin blockchain. Now essentially what we're doing is we're using a blockchain which is 10,000 times, up to 10,000 times more efficient than the Bitcoin or the Ethereum blockchain. So it's very efficient on that point then. I myself have been 12 years in the solar industry. I was the co-founder of a very large solar installation company in Belgium. We did 2,000 solar installations in Belgium with my previous company, and I had about 120 employees in this business. And so essentially what we're promoting here is more as a tool for the energy transition, as a tool which is available globally then. Now this comes, of course, according to the Paris agreements, we have to maintain, well, we have a challenge, I would say, to maintain the increase in temperature below 2 degrees Celsius and below 450 particles per cubic meter of carbon dioxide. We're already at 400, so it's already very high. So it's a mandate from this Paris Agreement, and we see, for example, Solarcoin or Climate Coin, just to mention, as tools to empower prosumers then to initiate this energy transition. Now currently there's about 400 gigawatt peak of solar capacity installed worldwide. Of that, there's 5 gigawatt in Turkey, so good job Turkey. But according to the IEA and according to Bloomberg New Energy Finance, we have to get much further. So we have to get to roughly 5,000 gigawatt peak of solar installation capacity within the next 25 years if we want to respect that mandate. So currently 7 million solar facilities worldwide, which is already a very good point, but we have to develop to much more capacity than what we have there. So we use a blockchain. I don't know who here is very familiar with blockchains. Please put your hand up if you are one, don't be afraid. Okay, great. So that helps me a lot. And essentially what we're doing, we're using this peer-to-peer database or available database for solar coin transactions, so essentially for digital currency transactions. So anybody who has a solar installation can participate into this network. It's very easy. You can simply download a wallet, and this is the way that you're going to participate in the Solarcoin ecosystem. Now, compared to other blockchains which are around, you have the Bitcoin blockchain, which is there also as a digital asset, as a digital currency. We call it digital gold then, in that case. There's the DAO, there was the DAO actually. There's the Ripple protocol as well. This is more for, oh sorry, is it better now? So the Ripple protocol is more as a banking protocol, so essentially as to replace the SWIFT protocol. So it's going to allow people to send money or stocks, bonds, within a couple of minutes as opposed to a couple of days when you're looking at settlement, clearing, and custody. So that's just a couple of examples. I'll get into the examples into the energy subject a bit afterwards then. Now we see Solarcoin as a tool to enable prosumers to enact the energy transition. And what we're going to hear a lot into this energy transition is digitalization, democratization peer-to-peer networks, microgrid solutions, microgrid applications, and of course incentives to sustain this energy transition. I'm going to be diving a bit more into that afterwards. And what we see is the opportunity for microgrid solutions to be deployed in developing nations. So think, of course, the black spots that you see, well, essentially there in Africa, of course, in South America, for example. And we see massive upscale of solar energy in those developing nations. Essentially, you're going to see microgrid solutions as opposed to big utility scale infrastructure being developed in these developing nations because it helps, it's easier to install than deploying these, well, Western, Occidental, I would say, utility scale businesses then. Okay, so we use a different algorithm. So with the Solarcoin blockchain, we have a completely different algorithm. We use, instead of proof of work, we use proof of stake time. So this allows us to be up to 10,000 times more efficient than the Bitcoin or the Ethereum blockchain. So we don't necessarily do smart contracts or peer-to-peer energy trading, but what we do is a digital asset, a digital currency, which is available then, as I mentioned, peer-to-peer. And in doing so, the wallet, all you need to do is downloading a wallet, and this wallet is going to stake at 2% interest. So when you hold, it acts like a bank account, essentially, enabling participants then to stake at 2% interest for validating the claims which are there. Now, the POST algorithm is very democratic. It has a low carbon footprint because essentially, if you use the Bitcoin blockchain, it's currently using $5 to $6 billion of energy worth, so very, very heavy. With POST, we're using about $200,000 for sustaining the same size network, so much less than in that case. Now, Solarcoin comes, as I mentioned, as a digital asset for solar power producers. It's an asset which is available for peer-to-peer energy trading companies. So think, for example, LO3 Energy. They're doing the Brooklyn microgrid. They're Siemens-backed. They're in the US then. We're working also with Grid Singularity, which is in Germany. They're working with the Energy Web Foundation. And so we can come as a digital solution, as an additional value, a token of value for those solar power producers, for those peer-to-peer energy trading companies then. Specifically, we're also working with the solar industry. So it's open to any solar participant, whether it's a solar asset manager or a solar monitoring platform, a utility, an IPP style utility. And of course, prosumers, so the end consumer who is entitled to those solar coins. So it doesn't matter if you have a 100-watt peak system or a 5-megawatt peak system, you will receive solar coins in the same way. We're a member of the European Solar Association, Solar Power Europe. We've participated on a report on digitalization with them. We've also been recognized by the International Renewable Energy Agency as a tool to reward solar power producers worldwide. And just recently, we've announced a partnership with Aqua Power. So Aqua Power is the first IPP, the first utility scale company to using Solarcoin integrated and handed out to their tier 2 and tier 3, so to their O&M companies then working with them. Excuse me. So specifically on peer-to-peer energy trading, basically what you have is kits, solar kits, think solar kits connected through a microgrid, and this microgrid sustains the energy which is being put into it and is billing automatically through the blockchain and doing the clearing of the energy at any moment in time. So a prosumer, think a solar power producer, can produce energy, feed it into the grid, and then someone else is going to use that energy and being billed in Turkish lira then in that case. And Solarcoin comes on top of that as an incentive to incentivize those solar power producers. We're also doing KYC, so we have a data logger, and this is all open source, so you can integrate as, well, the data logger as open source to your existing infrastructure also. We've developed API solutions, so if you're a solar monitoring company or an installation, a solar installer, you can integrate an API. So this API goes directly to your servers. Of course, it hands out solar coins into the solar power producers automatically. We've developed a script also. We're actually testing with one of the leading companies out there in the solar industry. And so this is actually going to hand out solar coins through the script, so through the data logger, and through the blockchain, of course, directly to the solar power producer. And manually, of course, so if you have a solar installation, you're an individual power producer, you can also register your solar installation based on grid connection documentation. So we tried to make it very simple as opposed to Bitcoin, which is a bit complicated. Bitcoin, you need servers to mine it. You need well, you actually need to invest into those servers. And it's very undemocratic because currently you have about 40 companies which are mining Bitcoin. In the case of a Solarcoin, what you have is, in this case, rather an incentive which is tracked through the megawatt hours which you're producing. So we validate the energy which you're producing depending on the system which you're using right now. We integrate it so through APIs then, through data loggers. And then all you need to do is download the Solarcoin wallet, run it on your desktop, and then you participate as a node into the system, into the ecosystem. And of course, then those Solarcoins, you can use them with market participants, but you can also use them, exchange them through one of the platforms is Lykke, for example, a Swiss-based platform. You can get the cash back in euros, dollars, Swiss francs, or whichever. We've handed out about 6 million solar coins out there, more than 6 million actually to date in 58 countries. So this is available to, well, any country, of course, but 58 countries so far. Running the program as a test case with 6,000 solar installations and scaling that to more than 1 million. This is our goal. Now, a lot of people wonder what is the value of a solar coin or why they should actually get solar coins then in the first place. And so, of course, you can look at it as a marketing incentive or as a token of value, as a representation for those solar power producers. But on top of that, think, for example, if you're producing at $20 per megawatt hour, if you have an SPV, so a solar field which is registered as an SPV, think of producing at $20 per megawatt hour. That's the price which we're achieving in the UAE right now. If you look at Mexico, we're now at $17 per megawatt hour. And so energy is becoming a commodity. Energy prices are going down. And if you think of, well, the margin, think of a 10% margin on that. So $2 per megawatt hour being your margin as an IPP, then a solar coin at $2 per megawatt hour effectively doubles your margin on the solar energy which you're producing from that field. So think of it as an extra revenue, but at the same time, as the value picks up, it's also going to help future prosumers participate into the market. Now, a lot of questions, a lot of people are asking, where does the value come from? And so this is the most critical point. The value actually comes from network participation. So the larger the network, the larger the number of participants into this network, the higher the value of the coin itself. Because each participant into the network is holding a value of itself into the same network. Of course, there is speculation. So you see the red line, for example. This is short-term speculation. What we are after with the Solarcoin program is the long-term growth. So the 40-year mission to sustain solar power during those 40 years and initiate this global solar energy transition. So we're much more after the blue line, which you can see there. What we've calculated is that if we can reach out to 1 million users, this 1 million participant is actually going to be rewarded for free for those solar coins. And then as the value of the solar coin picks up, it's also going to help future participants, so people out there who don't have a solar installation, to participate into the market. So think of it as a trust enabling mechanism then. And this is exactly what we're looking after, is trust enabling participants. And so companies in the solar industry, utility scale companies, inverter companies, of course, and of course consumers to participate into this new economy, this digitalized economy. Thank you very much.